has a lot of terminology.
Is that good?
Oh, yeah, I love surprises. I like all the ways you make me feel.
Are looking at those glands which use the bloodstream to bring their hormones throughout the body. They don't have their own vessel system to transport the particular hormone or whatever they make, like the steroids that the adrenals make, for example. That steroid is transmitted through the body via the blood. And so that's what we're looking at here. And so that's why there's some repetition. We find the thyroid gland again, and we study that in the respiratory system. And of course, it plays an important role in the respiratory system because of its location, but it is actually one of the endocrine glands. So hopefully you'll find this chapter to be a little easier than some of the ones we've been going over. What I'd like to do today is to go through the spelling words. They're on the list on pages 2 and 3, going through the word parts as well, and make sure that you first hear the words so you can start working on the spelling words. And we'll also go through the word parts. In fact, we probably should start with those first. Let's look on page 405 in the chapter, and then you'll probably recognize most of these. Maybe Stephanie will let you.
I was looking this morning, that's why it's delayed here.
Okay, on page 405, we have the word parts that the author has added in this chapter. We start out with adrenalo or adreno. That's familiar, isn't it? It means the adrenal gland. Crine, C-R-I-N, means to secrete. So the endocrine, what we're looking at is secreting within the bloodstream. Okay. Ducto, D-U-C-T-O, means to carry. Ecto, E-C-T-O, means to take outside. That's the same E-C-T-O that you see in ectomy, just a variation of it. Okay, but that E-C-E-X, when you see that, it's going to be something outside. Fusion means to pour. Gluco and glyco both mean sugar. So you see these used like glucose, for example, means sugar, whereas if we were looking at like hyperglycemia, we would want to use the glyco. So those two are used depending upon whether we're putting another word part with it. Pancreato or pancreato is the word part for pancreas. Of course, we studied that before in the gastrointestinal system. Thyro is the word part for thyroid gland, and we of course had that. So most of that should be pretty familiar to you. Okay. Then on the study sheet on page 4, I have a long list there, and I just noticed two or three more that I should have added. But I'll point them out to you, but I won't hold you accountable because you've already had them all, the 3 that I happened to look at just a few minutes ago and realized I should have added. Most of these, as you're looking through them, are review. There are some new ones, but the reason I added them was because it helps you with the words that you're learning in this chapter. But A, of course, you've had before many times, meaning without. Acro means the extremities. Agra, had that before, I believe, meaning severe or sudden pain. I may be ahead of myself on that. I think we have it again. Angio, we've had before, I know, meaning blood vessel. Assay is a new one. We have a word, immuno, that has assay in it. And so we need to know that assay means to trial or test something. Chromo means color. Cyto, we've had before, meaning cell. Dipsa, we've had before, meaning thirst. Ectomy, I know we've had before, meaning surgical removal. Emia, we've had before. And remember, EM means blood, and IA means condition. So emia is defined as blood condition. Endo, we've had before, meaning within. Exo, we've had EX, we're just putting the O there with it, and again, that means to take outside. It can also, though, this is a new meaning, it can also mean without, and that's a new meaning for that EX. More times than not, you'll find it meaning outside of, though. Graphy we've had before, which is the procedure of recording. Hemo is blood. Hyper, excessive, above, over. Hypo, under, below. Immuno, you go to get an immunization so that hopefully you'll be safe from that disease. So immuno means safe. Itis, had many times before, means inflammation. Megaly we've had before, meaning to enlarge. Metri we've had before, meaning the procedure to measure. Oma is a repeat, meaning tumor. Uphero, you just had. Ophthalmo, notice there that PH has a F sound. Ophthalmo, which relates to the eye. Orchio, you just had, we're leaving the O off. Orchi means testes or testicles. Pan means all, we just had that, I believe. Para, we just had. Now, I didn't include the to bear in this one because in para, we'd probably be looking at it on the basis of the parathyroids, which means they lie beside the thyroid gland. But keep in mind that para can also mean to bear, but in this chapter, we'll look at just the meaning that we've been looking at most of the time through. Pell, P-E-L-L, means skin, and you have a word using that. That's a new one. Phagia means to eat, and plasia means to form, and I believe we've had both of those before. Poly means excessive, and we've had that before. Post we've had before, which means after or behind. Prandial means relating to a meal. So like when you hear the term postprandial, when would we be talking about?
Before.
No, post, after a meal, right. Postprandial would mean after, because post, remember, means after or behind. If we said preprandial, then we would be talking about before, or anteprandial would be before. Radio means ray. Sanguio, we had back in chapter 8, which means blood. Here's a variation of thyroid, pronounced thyrio, and you'll notice that it's a word part for thyroid, variation of what's in the book. And then on thyro, which is given to you in the book, it's defined as the thyroid gland, but I wanted to help you remember thyrio, so I've included an oblong and shield there to change the meaning so that those two would be the same. Now, let me real quickly tell you, you'll also hear the word part trans, which we've had before, means through or across. S-P-H-E-N-O, spheno, which means wedge. You had that when we were dealing with the musculoskeletal system. And then oid, which means resembling. So these are some word parts. I'm not going to have them on the test, but you will come across those in your spelling words.
What was the second?
S-P-H-E-N-O, which means wedge. S-P-H-E-N-O.
And then oid, you said?
Oid, O-I-D. Like in thyroid, which means resembling a shield. Okay, so those are the word parts. And if you get to really looking at that, there's not that many new ones. More of them are review than not, so that'll help. Okay, going back to page 2 on your study sheet, the spelling words that you're going to have to be able to define are again marked with the asterisks. I try to keep everything on the same thing so we're always on the same wavelength and there's not any confusion. We're not going to talk about definitions today. All I'm going to try to do is just go through and pronounce all of them so you'll at least have heard them once before we get started. So let's start on the left-hand column. On page 395, we have exocrine glands. Now, that's made up of that word part EXO that we just talked about, and then the crine, C-R-I-N-E, and glands. And these are opposite of the next one, endocrine glands. Endocrine glands. And of course, that's what we're studying is the endocrine system. pituitary gland. And on pituitary, notice it's spelled pit-u-i-tary, or tar-y. Pit-u-i-tary. It's not pronounced quite the way it's spelled, and so you have to kind of come up with a way of remembering. But pituitary gland. And hypophysis, the next word, hypophysis, is another word for pituitary gland. Those two mean the same thing. And on the picture, you are asked to give both of those names. When you're identifying the pituitary gland, you're asked to show the pituitary and the hypophysis. You have 2 lines for that. Thyroid, there's that OID that I was mentioning. Parathyroid glands. And of course, here the para means beside. Parathyroid glands lay beside the thyroid gland. On 397, we have angiography. Angiography. Exophthalmometry. Exophthalmometry. That EX is outside of, and then the OPHTHALMO deals with the eye. So you see why I added that word part. And then there's that metry. So when you look at it, it's actually EX and then ophthalmo, which is the OPHTHALMO, and then metry, METRY. Radioimmunoassay. There's why I added that word assay, which means to what? Trial or test something. So radioimmunoassay. And that one is just made up of 3 word parts: radio, immuno, and assay. I'm hoping that you're starting to see these without me having to point them out to you, that they just, because when I see words now, that's the way I look at them. I look for those parts immediately, because that just makes it a lot easier. When you can recognize parts of the word, then the word does not seem so foreign to you. And then the next one is pronounced aldosterone. Aldosterone or aldosterone. There's 2 different pronunciations for it. Aldosterone or aldosterone. On 399, we have glucose tolerance. And I think I left the word test off there. I haven't verified that in my textbook yet. But I think it should be glucose tolerance test, but you shouldn't have any trouble spelling test. Okay.
Radioactive iodine uptake, you skipped that one.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I don't have the updated version, and you're right, I did. On 397, we also had radioactive iodine uptake, which is also one of your abbreviations.
It's just glucose tolerance.
Is it? Okay. Well, it's usually, I usually hear it glucose tolerance test because there is one. But like I said, it wouldn't bother you if I did throw test in there, even on test day. Yeah, radioactive iodine uptake was on 397. Then going to 399, we had glucose tolerance. And then postprandial blood sugar. Okay, now there's that post, and prandial I had you to add, which relates to the meal, and blood sugar. So what they're doing is they're having you eat a meal, and then after that meal, they're running a blood sugar test. Okay. Glycosylated hemoglobin. Glycosylated hemoglobin. And of course, you've got that glyco and then the silated. So look at it that way. Addison's disease, adrenal virilism or viralism, Cushing's disease, which happens to be the opposite of Addison's disease, as you'll find out. Hirsutism. That one's kind of different from the way it's pronounced. That H-I-R has more of an H-E-R, her, and then S-U-T is suit, and then ism, I-S-M, hirsutism. Pheochromocytoma. There's that chromo that I had you to add, and then the site, of course, you've had before, cell, and oma you've had before. So pheo is what you're going to have to learn there, and that's just P-H-E-O. Diabetes mellitus, which I believe we've had that word before, diabetes mellitus. Hypoglycemia, which would be low or high blood sugar. Low, right. Hypoglycemia would be low blood sugar. On page 401, we have parathyroidectomy, which would be removal of the parathyroids. Thymectomy, which would be removal of the thymus. Thyroidectomy, which would be removal of the thyroid. Transphenoidal, and there's that SPHEN that I was telling you about, and then the OID. Transphenoidal hypophysectomy. Now, that hypophys is the word that I told you up above on page 359, the hypothesis. That HYPOPHYS of that word is all but the IS of hypothesis, and then ectomy. So what they're doing is they're removing the hypophysis, which is the pituitary gland, through the sphenoidal sinus. Okay, so that's what that means. Okay, going over to the right-hand column on 396, we have pancreas, which we've had before. We've had this next one, islets of Langerhans, adrenals, gonads, and this one I've heard 3 different ways. I usually pronounce it either pineal or pineal. It has a third pronunciation, but I've only heard it one time. So either pineal or pineal gland. On 398, we have calcium, cortisol, electrolytes, ketones, prolactin, phosphorus, you've had that before, basal metabolic rate, which is also an abbreviation, BMR, estradiol. On page 400, we have hyperparathyroidism, which would be excessive something of the parathyroids, acromegaly, which acro means extremities, megaly means enlargement, so that would be enlargement of the extremities. Okay. Diabetes insipidus. I start to say diabetes mellitus again. Diabetes insipidus. Panhypopituitarism. Goiter, thyroiditis, adrenalectomy, oophorectomy. That one shouldn't be hard. You just add it. Same with this orchiectomy, pancreatectomy. Okay, on the next page, on page 401 of the textbook, we have the drugs acetest, Decadron, Enderol, you've had that before, Oronase, Tagamet, and then we have some generics. Hydrocortisone, prednisone, glyburide, thyroxine, probucol, vasopressin, and cimetidine. And those are all generics from hydrocortisone down. They're not capitalized. 412, we have steroid, tetany, thymoma, and tophus. The PH there again has an F sound, tophus. On page 402, we have 2 brand name drugs, Zantac and Xyloprim, and then we have 2 generics, tolazamide and allopurinol. And then on 411, we have acidosis, alkalosis, catecholamines, hyperplasia, which would be excessive growth or formation, hyperuricemia, which would be an excessive amount of blood in the urine, hypoglycemia, did I dictate that earlier? Yes, I did. That's on there twice. That one is certainly on there twice.
Well, I'll be sure to know it.
Yes, she certainly will. You'll be sure to know it. Icterus, and jaundice, and I think we had both of those words before, didn't we? Osmolarity, that OS has a Z sound, osmolarity. Polydipsia, which we've had before, meaning excessive thirst, and polyphagia, which we've had before, which means excessive eating. Pressor effect, and puberty. Okay, now, as you can see, there's an awful lot of those that you already know. All right, we do have that one picture on 393, which will be on the test, and I might point out to you that that is actually a picture of both sexes, because it has the gonads and the ovaries. So instead of having two, they just showed both of those in the same illustration. And then on the abbreviations, I only want you to know the ones that are listed on the study sheet. There are some more, but these are the ones I feel like would be more likely to be seen pretty often. So I'm giving you a break there on this. So we will, okay, so this is not the way. Some books will show two different pictures with the ovary showing the female and the testicles showing the male. But,
You know, there is some women that has had it.
yes, I know. I'm just saying that this isn't the way that the majority of the people are. But when we're looking at the illustration and we're identifying the different parts, there's a couple of places, mainly up here, that are going to give you trouble, because we're looking here at the pineal gland and the pituitary gland in the first two, and then in the second two we're looking at the thyroid glands and the parathyroid glands. And you know, you have to really stop and think about what we're talking about and where they're located. But when we look up here, one thing that will help you to keep the pineal gland and the pituitary gland separate is that, remember, the pituitary, you're going to have to also give its hypophysis name. So the two lines here are the side that you're doing pituitary, and then also in the location, because you can see there the pituitary is a little more in the middle of the head, whereas the pineal gland is there on that stalk or stem. So this is the pituitary hypophysis, and this is the pineal gland. And you want to be especially careful here about your plurals. If you don't make it plural and it happens to be plural, that's not as serious as if you make it plural and it isn't plural. Like pituitary, there is only one pituitary gland. So if you said pituitary glands, that's wrong. There's only one. There's only one pineal gland, so be aware of that. Then looking at this, we're looking in the throat, and we're talking about the thyroid or the parathyroid. And again, the two lines can kind of help you to keep that in perspective, because this one singular line is talking about the thyroid gland, whereas the two lines are relating to the parathyroid gland. Remember, in this case, the para means beside. The parathyroid glands lay on the side of the thyroid gland. There is only one thyroid gland, but you have plural thyroid, parathyroid glands. And then, of course, this one is representative of the pancreas, which we studied in gastrointestinal. And then these that are located on top of the kidney are the adrenal glands. Now, actually, it's pointing to one, so you should answer gland, but if you said glands, I wouldn't count it wrong, because there are two of them. So glands, plural form would be correct. And then this, of course, is the representative of the ovaries. And then this, of course, is the representative of the testicles or testes. And they show their gonads on both of those, but we talk about gonads somewhere else, so if you just wrote ovaries and testicles here, that would be acceptable. Any questions about the picture? Okay. The next thing that I'd like to do is to go over Chapter 17 theory. We have already pronounced the words, and I'd like to go over the theory next. And we want to remember that we are studying the endocrine system, and the reason that we are calling this a system is because these glands all do a similar function, and that is that they secrete whatever hormone that they manufacture. They all secrete it into the bloodstream, and the bloodstream works as the carrier for that hormone. But also keep in mind that each one of these have to do with another system. So there's an overlapping there, okay? But the study concerned with this particular system is referred to as endocrinology, as it's stated there in the first question. Concerned with the functions of glands that secrete their chemical compounds known as hormones into the bloodstream. And so that's the study of, so it's endocrinology. And of course, then the physicians who diagnose and treat the endocrine disorders are called endocrinologists. And as I pointed out to you in terms 1, when you have these specialties and what doctors are called, those are definite final exam questions in your theory. You'll definitely be asked those, so you'll want to remember those. Okay, when we look at the endocrine system, we've already looked at all of the different things that are included, but here you have to list them for me. So you might want to refer to this picture when you're doing the test so that you'll make sure you don't leave one out, because it's real easy to do that on this particular system. But as we've already talked about, we have the thyroid, the parathyroids, the pituitary, the adrenals, the pancreas, the testes, the ovaries, and the pineal gland. Now, it mentions about the thymus gland, but we studied the thymus gland when we studied the immune system, and the thymus actually plays a key role there. Some books do include it in this system, but this particular author chooses to think of it as a part of the immune system and not include it in this section. Any organ that produces a secretion is called a gland. And there are some glands that are also called organs. The liver, for example, is one which can be a gland. It can also be an organ. The ovary is thought of as a gland, but it can also be thought of as an organ. So sometimes we'll have an overlapping, but if we have a part that produces a secretion, then it is referred to as a gland. And then at number 5, we have the 2 words there for the pituitary gland, which you also have to give me on the illustration. The pituitary gland, or the hypophysis, is about the size of a cherry. Now you know how big a cherry is, so it's not very big. And so that kind of amazes you when you answer number 6, because the pituitary gland is called the master gland. Very tiny. In fact, it's smaller than anything it controls, and yet it's the master gland because it's the one that wakes organs up, like when young children start going through puberty. The pituitary gland's the one that wakes up the gonads and says, okay, it's time for you guys to get busy and start working like you're supposed to. So, you know, you could think of it, I guess, of picking up a phone and calling. That's not quite the way it works. But it is still contacting those glands and letting them know it's time for them to start working. The pituitary gland serves many functions. And, of course, the pituitary gland, if it gets to where it's or not functioning properly, can cause a lot of serious problems. But usually it's pretty functional. Of the endocrine glands, the largest one is the thyroid gland. And of course, it is located in the neck, just below the larynx, which is what? What's the larynx? Voice box. And the thyroid gland is one which controls a variety of things. But in order to do its functioning, it has to have iodine. Now, we don't want to relate that to the iodine that we use to treat sores. It's in the family of, but we're not talking about going in and glugging down, iodine ointment or liquid. We're talking about a different substance. One of the things, the radioactive iodine uptake term, if they suspicion that the thyroid is not functioning properly, then what the doctors will do is to inject a minute particle of iodine that has been radioactively charged, not with enough to do any harm to the body, just enough to be able to be traced. And they'll inject that in the body, and then after so many hours, they'll check to see whether or not, because all of that radioactive iodine should have been absorbed by the thyroid. And so they check it to see, and if it's not absorbing it, then this is an indication that there's something wrong with the thyroid gland. And of course, the thyroid gland can control a variety of things, and it can also cause some real unusual circumstances. An underproductive thyroid gland can cause,
To be overweight.
To be overweight. It can also cause someone not to realize their full potential and growth as far as height is concerned. Whereas the overactive thyroid gland can cause the opposite, can cause people to be very, very thin and very, very tall. But also heredity plays an important role in that as well, and we can't all go around and blame our thyroid gland for all problems. And sometimes it's very difficult to tell for sure that the thyroid gland isn't working properly. I know I've heard of some stories of people who have gone through a lot over the years, and doctors were sure that the thyroid gland was working properly, and then they finally go to a specialist who knows what he's doing or she's doing and find out that it isn't working properly, and they get under medication and get under control what their problem was. So it's very hard, I think you'll find, to diagnose. It's something that you definitely don't necessarily want to take one person's opinion if you feel like you've got a problem with it. The parathyroid glands are so named, as I've already said, because they lie on either side of the thyroid gland, and they produce a hormone which regulates the amount of calcium and phosphorus that's in the blood, and also the amount that's stored in your bones and teeth. And so they play an important role in how our physical being, as far as our bone structure, etc. And of course, phosphorus is a substance which, especially people who take high blood pressure, certain high blood pressure medicines, or have high blood pressure, who take high blood pressure medicines, certain medicines that control high blood pressure deplete the body of phosphorus. And when you don't have a right amount of phosphorus in your body, you can have a lot of problems, such as muscle cramps and that type of thing. So the parathyroid glands control a very important function there in our body. The pancreas, we studied in gastrointestinal, so mainly here what we remind ourselves of is where it's located, and it is located behind the stomach. And it manufactures a hormone called insulin. And of course, insulin is what regulates or controls the blood sugar in our body. So the pancreas can definitely have an effect on the blood sugar level. And people who have problems with their pancreas will have either high blood sugar or low blood sugar. And there's a lot of complications there. People who have low blood sugar, for example, a lot of times are very depressed, very sluggish. It's hard for them to get to functioning. And so there's a lot of diabetes is involved there. Something that some people are not aware of too, though, is the pancreas. There is a pancreatic cancer. And I've heard quite a bit about it here in the last few years. It seems like it's on the rise, and I'm not quite sure that I've heard. I know I haven't really heard exactly what's causing it, or if they have an indication, of what may be wrong. And it may be that it's been around and people just weren't diagnosed with it. It was not something which they knew that much about. That's happened in a lot of circumstances where there's been something that's been causing problems for people, but they weren't diagnosed with it because people just didn't know enough about it. But the pancreas is a very important organ or gland. Well, it's also an organ as far as the level of controlling blood sugar, etc., is concerned. The adrenals, again, are those two kidneys, or the two glands that are located on the kidneys, and they just rest right on top of the kidney. They don't actually. They're not actually attached, although it looks like they are. But they just kind of lay right there on top of the kidney, and they are totally separate from the kidney. And of course, the adrenals are what manufacture what are called steroids. And steroids is another term, like abortion, that kind of has a nasty reputation right now because we've heard so much about athletes and different types of people who, bodybuilders and that kind of thing, taking steroids to get pumped up and build their muscles up, etc. But the steroids that they're talking about are artificial steroids that have been injected into the body. Our body does, in fact, make steroids, and there are natural ways in order to get those steroids to be functioning in our body. And so if people want to, they can do it naturally. But, of course, the adrenals and the steroids that they produce are what make people have superhuman strength at times of crisis. You've probably read stories of a frantic mother who picks up a car because her baby is underneath it, or things like that, and she turns around then later and she couldn't pick it up if she tried, but yet in that one instant moment there when she was in a panic, she was able to do something that was like superhuman for her, but yet she was able to do it. And I've heard the same thing in the case of men too, that they've been under stressful situations and were able to do something that they would not be able to do under normal circumstances. Well, that's the adrenal gland kicking in, injecting that steroid in high concentration into the body to be able to give that person that superhuman strength. The sex glands in the males and females are called gonads, and this is where I was talking about on the picture. You don't have to put it down because we talk about it in the theory. On the picture, you can just identify ovaries and testes or testicles, and then here in the theory, you'll identify that those are called gonads. Then the next three are terms which we talked about in the reproductive system. The hormone that the male sex glands produce is testosterone. The female hormone is estrogen. And the hormone that's produced by the female sex glands to prepare the uterus for pregnancy is called progesterone, which pro, of course, means for, and the gesterone relates to the gestational period or the pregnancy. And then 18 and 19 deal with the pineal or pineal gland, which lies in the roof of the third ventricle of the brain, and notice it says it's attached by the pineal stalk, so that might help you to be able to identify it when you look at the picture. And the pineal gland secretes a hormone that's called melatonin, and they don't know a whole lot about it even now. The book states this, but I haven't heard any more about it since this book has been published. They do know that it has or is affected by light, but as far as what it really does, they haven't been able to zero in on it. So it's one of those mystery parts of the body. They know what it is, where it is, and what it produces, but they're not real sure exactly how it affects the body. So that's the theory. It's kind of a relief compared to the chapter which we just got through doing, isn't it? Really. Okay, and then we do have those abbreviations. Notice that you'll not want to study all of the abbreviations, but just the ones that are mentioned there. So why don't we spend the rest of the time working on spelling words, keeping in mind that this test is going to be when? Friday. All right, so you've got till next Friday, exactly 1 week, and then you're going to have the test, but this, I think, will seem like a vacation. Yeah.
You have our last test grade?
No, I don't. Okay, let's do word parts first. Angio. Angio. A-N-G-I-O. Angio means blood vessel. Emia. Emia. E-M-I-A. Emia means blood condition. Glyco. Glyco. G-L-Y-C-O. Glyco means sugar. Sanguio. Sanguio. S-A-N-G-U-I-O. Sanguio means blood. Pell. Pell. P-E-L-L, which means skin. Ectomy. Ectomy. E-C-T-O-M-Y. Ectomy means surgical removal. Hyper. Hyper. H-Y-P-E-R. Hyper means excessive, above, or over. You don't have to give all of those. Excessive is fine. Agra. Agra. A-G-R-A. Agra means
Sudden severe pain.
right, sudden severe pain. Ducto. Ducto. D-U-C-T-O. Ducto means carry. Right. Crine. Crine. C-R-I-N, which means secrete. Right. Ecto. Ecto. E-C-T-O. Ecto means outside. Right. Thyro. Thyro. T-H-Y-R-O. Thyro means
Oblong shield.
okay, oblong shield or thyroid. Adrenalo. Adrenalo. A-D-R-E-N-A-L-O. Adrenalo means adrenal glands or gland. Gluco. Gluco. G-L-U-C-O. Gluco means sugar. And then glyco, I've already given that one, yeah, I'm sorry.
That's what I was thinking, yeah.
Yeah.
That means
Well, we'll spell
sugar
it again.
also.
Right. G-L-Y-C-O. Glyco means sugar. Pancreato. Pancreato. P-A-N-C-R-E-A-T-O. And pancreato means pancreas. A, which is the letter A, and it means immuno. Immuno. I-M-M-U-N-O. Immuno means safe. Chromo. Chromo. C-H-R-O-M-O. Chromo means color. Megaly. Megaly. M-E-G-A-L-Y. Megaly means to enlarge. Para. Para. P-A-R-A. Para means near or beside. Now, we did learn it last time to mean to bear, but in this section, we'll just concentrate on what it means, which is near, beside. Okay. Hemo. Hemo. H-E-M-O. Hemo means blood. Cyto. Cyto. C-Y-T-O. Cyto means cell. Plasia. Plasia. P-L-A-S-I-A. Plasia means to form. Phagia. Phagia. P-H-A-G-I-A. Phagia means to eat. To eat. Phagia. No.
Okay.
You were thinking of
Ragia.
No. Prandial. Prandial. P-R-A-N-D-I-A-L. Prandial means relating to a meal. Exo. Exo. E-X-O, which means outside of or without. Remember, this time we're adding a new phrase here for that EX. It means also without. Ufero. Or ophero. O-O-P-H-O-R-O. Ufero means ovary. Itis. Itis. I-T-I-S. Itis means inflammation. Hypo. Hypo. H-Y-P-O, and hypo means
Under, beneath.
under, beneath, below. Post. Post. P-O-S-T, which means after or behind. Graphy. Graphy. G-R-A-P-H-Y. Graphy means to record, okay. Ophthalmo. 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 O-P-H. T-H-A-L-M-O. Now, ophthalmo means eye. Fusion. 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 F-U-S-I-O-N. And fusion means, no, to pour.
To pour.
To pour. Oma. Oma. O-M-A, which means tumor. Pan. Pan. P-A-N, which means all. Radio. Radio. R-A-D-I-O. Radio means ray. Endo. Endo. E-N-D-O, which means within or inside. Adreno. 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 I'm not saying adrenal. Yes. Adrenal gland, You have adreno and adrenalo, which are word parts for adrenal gland. A-D-R-E-N-O. Thyrio. Not just thyro, thyrio. T-H-Y-R-E-O, and thyrio means oblong, shield, and thyroid. Acro. Acro. A-C-R-O, acro means extremities. Poly. Poly, P-O-L-Y, poly means
Many.
many, excessive, okay. Metry. Metry. M-E-T-R-Y, metry means procedure to measure, right. Assay. Assay. A-S-S-A-Y. Assay means trial or test. Think of it, remember back in the gold rush days, they'd take their gold to an assay office to test it. Orchi. Orchi. O-R-C-H-I. Orchi means testes or testicles. Dipsa. I'm just saying dipsa. I'm not saying dipsia. Dipsa. D-I-P-S-A. There's variation there. There is a dipsia, but this one is just dipsa. D-I-P-S-A, and it means thirst. Okay, that's all the word parts. Now, on this particular test, I give all of the drugs together. since we are spelling generic and trade name on this one. So all the drugs will be in one section, and here they are. Yes.
On Mitri, can you put just to measure? Do you want
Yes.
procedure?
On Mitri, you could put just to measure. That would be fine.
Thank you.
Okay, on the drugs, Inderal. Inderal, which is capital I-N-D-E-R-A-L. Tagamet. Tagamet. Capital T-A-G-A-M-E-T. Prednisone. Prednisone. Now that's a generic. So it's P-R-E-D-N-I-S-O-N-E. Decadron. Decadron. Capital D-E-C-A-D-R-O-N. Zantac. Zantac. Capital Z-A-N-T-A-C. Vasopressin, and that's generic. Vasopressin. Vasopressin. Vasopressin, V-A-S-O-P-R-E-S-S-I-N. Cimetidine, and that's a generic. Cimetidine. Cimetidine, which is C-I-M-E-T-I-D-I-N-E. Probucol. Probucol. Or it could be Probucol. P-R-O-B-U-C-O-L. That was a generic.
I forgot that's generic.
Acetest. Acetest. Remember, that's ACE your test, or ACE test. Capital A-C-E-T-E-S. Xyloprim.
Excuse me.
Xyloprim. Capital Z-Y-L-O-P-R-I-M. Hydrocortisone. Hydrocortisone. Now, I realize that there is, I think, an over-the-counter ointment that is showing this with a capital H as if it was a trade name, but it is also a generic, and we're going to spell it as a generic here. Hydrocortisone. H-Y-D-R-O-C-O-R-T-I-S-O-N-E. There are some drugs that, even though they're generic terms, they are also used in a trade name form. Thyroxine. Thyroxine. Thyroxine, T-H-Y-R-O-X-I-N-E. Tolazamide. 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 T-O-L-A-Z-A-M-I-D-E. Allopurinol. 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 And that's a generic, so it's A-L-L-O-P-U-R-I-N-O-L. Orinase. Orinase. Capital O-R-I-N-A-S-E. And then glyburide. Glyburide, which is a generic, G-L-Y-B-U-R-I-D-E. Okay? And then of the rest of the spelling words, there's a group of 22 that are going to be spelling only, and then there's a group that are spelling definition. And Let's go ahead and work with the ones that are spelling definition first. Polydipsia. 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 We have the word part dipsa and dipsia, and I have a feeling I should have made that dipsia. That may have been a typo on my part. But they actually mean the same thing. It's just a variation of, because dipsa can be used by itself with another word part, of course, but as a part in itself, dipsa can be used. Islets of Langerhans. Islets of Langerhans. Islets, I-S-L-E-T-S, O-O-F, and then Langerhans, capital L-A-N-G-E-R-H-A-N-S. That could also be called islands of Langerhans, remember.
No apostrophe, that one is there.
No. If it was Langerhans islets, it would be. But since they're putting it in a prepositional phrase like that, it's not made possessive. Pancreas. Pancreas. P-A-N-C-R-E-A-S. Gonads. Gonads. G-O-N-A-D-S. Pituitary gland. Pituitary gland. P-I-T-U-I-T-A-R-Y, and then gland, G-L-A-N-D. Goiter. Goiter. G-O-I-T-E-R. Thyroid. Thyroid. T-H-Y-R-O-I-D. Hyperuricemia. 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 Basal metabolic rate. Basal metabolic rate. Basal, B-A-S-A-L, metabolic, M-E-T-A-B-O-L-I-C, rate, R-A-T-E. Acromegaly. Acromegaly. A-C-R-O-M-E-G-A-L-Y. Angiography. Angiography. A-N-G-I-O-G-R-A-P-H-Y. Thymectomy. Thymectomy. T-H-Y-M-E-C-T-O-M-Y. Cushing's disease. Cushing's disease. Capital C-U-S-H-I-N-G apostrophe S, and then disease, D-I-S-E-A-S-E. Thyroidectomy. 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 T-H-Y-R-O-I-D-E-C-T-O-M-Y. Hyperparathyroidism. 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 H-Y-P-E-R-P-A-R-A-T-H-Y-R-O-I-D-I-S-M. Glucose tolerance. Glucose tolerance. Glucose, G-L-U-C-O-S-E, tolerance, T-O-L-E-R-A-N-C-E. Endocrine glands. Endocrine glands. endocrine, and then glands, glands. Hypoglycemia. 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 Oophorectomy. 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 Thyroiditis. 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 Diabetes mellitus. Diabetes mellitus. Diabetes mellitus. DIABETES, and then separate word MELLITUS. Hypothesis. 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 HYPOPHYSIS. Exocrine glands. Exocrine glands. EXOCRINE, and then glands, GLANDS. Parathyroidectomy. 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 Radioimmunoassay. 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 RADIOIMMUNOS. I lost my thought there. RADIOIMMUNOASSAY. I think I was trying to spell another word there all of a sudden. Exophthalmometry. 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 You're putting the EX that you're learning here, and then the ophthalmo, and then metry. So it's kind of questionable about that first O, whether it goes with the EX or the OPH, but since the EX can do without it, it almost has to go with the OPH this time. EX, OPH, THALMOMETRY. Yes. EXOPH, THALMOMETRY. Adrenalectomy. 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 Hirsutism. Hirsutism. I'm saying hirsutism. So it's HIRSUTISM. Parathyroid glands. Parathyroid glands. Parathyroid, PARATHYROID, and then glands, GLANDS. Addison's disease. Addison's disease. capital ADDISON apostrophe S, and then disease DISEASE. Pineal or pineal gland. Pineal gland. PINEAL, and then gland, GLAND. Exophthalmometry. Exophthalmometry. I gave that, didn't I? I just didn't mark it. Boy, I'm having a real problem with that word today, aren't I? Okay, well, we'll spell it away, and you were having trouble with it. EXOPHTHALMOMETRY.
EXOPHTH?
Because see, what you're doing is you're putting that EX and then that ophthalmo, which is OPHTHALMO, and then metry on the end of it.
I looked at all 12 times and didn't catch till just now.
Well, it's a good thing I guess the fates were drawing me back to.
Should we have it again?
We will. Panhypopituitarism. Get my panhypopituitarism. Panhypopituitarism.
I got that.
And of course, ism is usually ISM. So it's PAN. PANHYPO PITUITARISM. Get it? Adrenals. 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 Transphenoidal. Transphenoidal. Hypophysectomy. Hypophysectomy.
I was wondering if you,
Okay, what you're spelling is the beginning of hypophysis, except that you drop off the last two letters, IS, and put ectomy on the end of it. Hypophysectomy. Hypophysectomy. But you're starting out with hypophysis there, and then just drop off the IS. Transphenoidal is TRANSPHENOIDAL. And then hypophysectomy is HYPO, PHYSECTOMY. Well, don't want to do that. Polyphagia. 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 Pancreatectomy. 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 Orchiectomy. 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 Postprandial blood sugar. Postprandial blood sugar. Postprandial, POSTPRANDIAL, blood, BLOOD, and sugar, SUGAR. Thymoma. 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 Hyperplasia. 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 Hypoglycemia. 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 Acidosis. ACIDOSIS. Tophus. Remembering that most of the time when you hear an F, or a lot of times when you hear an F sound, it is actually PH, as it is here. So it's TOPHUS. And the last one of this group, radioactive iodine uptake. Radioactive iodine uptake. Radioactive is RADIOACTIVE, iodine IODINE, and then uptake UPTAKE.
Non-hyphen.
No hyphen. Okay, now, pardon me?
That transfer oil will apply for
On the review, looking at the picture, to remind ourselves of the parts of the picture. So when we look at the picture, remember on these two here, you do not have to indicate gonads. You just need to indicate that this represents the testicles, and this one represents the ovaries. This one is the pancreas. This one represents the thyroid gland.
Oh, you want gland on there?
I would accept thyroid. I was just emphasizing that it's gland singular.
Okay, gland.
This one points to the pituitary or hypophysis. You want to be sure to give me both names there, pituitary and then hypophysis on the second line. Okay. Then going over on the other side, we have the pineal gland. Just one. This one is parathyroid gland, and this one points to the adrenal gland. Now there are two, but this is actually pointing to just one. So you would probably want to just say gland. But if you said glands there, I would accept it because there are two adrenal glands. But yes.
Thyroid glands.
Glands, yes, there are two.
It is two?
Okay. So that's the picture. Pretty simple picture compared to some of the ones we've had in the past. All right, let's start out with the word parts for chapter 17. We'll start out with the word parts. That's right.
Test is Friday?
Yes. The test will be in the next class session. Word parts for chapter 17. Ectomy. Ectomy. E-C-T-O-M-Y. Ectomy means surgical removal. Ducto. Ducto. D-U-C-T-O. Ducto means carry. Emia. Emia. E-M-I-A. Emia means blood condition. Glyco. Glyco. G-L-Y-C-O. Glyco means sugar. Angio. Angio. A-N-G-I-O. Angio means blood vessel. Pell. Pell. P-E-L-L, which means skin. Agra. Agra. A-G-R-A. Agra means sudden severe pain. Ecto. Ecto. E-C-T-O. Ecto means outside. Pancreato. Pancreato. P-A-N-C-R-E-A-T-O. And pancreato means pancreas. Hyper. Hyper, hyper means excessive, above, over, have you me all of those. Adrenalo. Adrenalo. Adrenalo means adrenal gland. A, which is the letter A, and it means without. Gluco. Gluco. Gluco means sugar. Crine. Crin, which means secrete. Thyro. Thyro. Thyro means oblong, shield, and thyroid gland. And you need to give me all three of those. Oblong, shield, and thyroid gland. Sanguio. Sanguio. Sanguio means blood. Immuno. IMMUNO. Immuno means safe. Cyto. CYTO. Cyto means cell. Hypo. HYPO. Hypo means under, below, beneath. Phagia. PHAGIA. Phagia means to eat. Endo. ENDO, which means within. Ophthalmo. OPHTHALMO. Ophthalmo means radio. RADIO. Radio means ray. Acro. ACRO. Acro means dipsa. DIPSA, and dipsa means thirst. Now you also want to remember that could be dipsia, DIPSIA, but here it's dipsa without the I before the A. Poly, POLY, poly means excessive, many, much. Itis, ITIS, which means para. PARA. Para means near, beside, beyond. Okay. Exo. EXO. Exo means outside of, also means without. Remember, we've added that meaning to this. Outside of and without are not the same thing. Graphy. GRAPHY. Graphy means procedure of recording. Post. POST, which means after or behind. Pan, PAN, which means all. Orchi. ORCHI. Orchi means testes or testicles. Oofero. Or oophero. OOPHORO. Oofero means ovary. Fusion. FUSION. Fusion means pour. Metry. METRY. Metry means to measure. Assay. Assay. A-S-S-A-Y. Assay means trial or test. Plasia. Plasia. P-L-A-S-I-A. Plasia means to form. Megaly. Megaly. M-E-G-A-L-Y. Megaly means to enlarge. Chromo. Chromo. C-H-R-O-M-O. Chromo means chromo means color. Adreno. Adreno. A-D-R-E-N-O. Adreno means adrenal gland. Thyrio. Thyrio. T-H-Y-R-E-O. Thyrio means oblong, shield, or thyroid. Hemo. Excuse me. Hemo. H-E-M-O. Hemo means blood. Prandial. Prandial. P-R-A-N-D-I-A-L. Prandial means relating to a meal. Oma.
Pertaining to meal, be all right?
Yes. Oma. O-M-A. Excuse me. Oma means tumor. Okay. That's all of the word parts. Let's work on the spelling words to be defined next, and what I'm going to do is give you the definition. You tell me what it is, and then we'll spell it. The sex glands in males and females are called gonads. G-O-N-A-D-S. This measures the uptake of a dose of radioactive iodine by the thyroid gland. Right. You'll notice the answer is in the question. Radioactive iodine uptake. Radioactive, R-A-D-I-O-A-C-T-I-V-E, iodine, I-O-D-I-N-E, uptake, U-P-T-A-K-E. This is a small gland that is called the master gland, pituitary gland. Pituitary gland. Pituitary, P-I-T-U-I-T-A-R-Y, and then gland, G-L-A-N-D. Another name for the pituitary gland is hypophysis. 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 H-Y-P-H-O-P-H-Y-S-I-S. This produces insulin. The pancreas. The pancreas. P-A-N-C-R-E-A-S. These are 4 tiny glands that produce parathyroid, which regulates the amount of calcium stored and circulated in the blood. Okay. Parathyroid glands. And there are actually 4 of them. Parathyroid, P-A-R-A-T-H-Y-R-O-I-D, and then glands, G-L-A-N-D-S. 2 small glands that are composed of a medulla and a cortex that are located above the kidneys are called the word that's going to be dictated is just adrenals. 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 A-D-R-E-N-A-L-S. This is used to visualize blood vessels in and near the specific gland in question. Angiography. That is correct, because blood vessels is angiography. Angiography, ANGIOGRAPHY. These glands produce hormones that are carried to all parts of the body by way of the blood or lymph system. No. What system are we studying? Okay, endocrine glands. Endocrine glands. Endocrine, ENDOCRINE, glands, GLANDS. Now, these glands produce external secretions that are carried through a duct from glandular cells to a nearby organ or body surface. Exocrine glands. Exocrine glands. Of course, exo, remember, means to take outside, and external is outside. EXOCRINE. And then I'm going to quit spelling glands, because if you can't spell glands by now. The largest endocrine gland is the thyroid. Thyroid, THYROID. This gland lies above the roof of the third ventricle of the brain and processes melatonin, the pineal gland. Pineal or pineal. PINEAL, and then gland, and it will be singular. Small, specialized collections of cells in the pancreas that manufacture insulin, etc., are called islets of Langerhans. Islets of Langerhans. Islets, ISLETS of OF, and Langerhans, capital LANGERHANS. Low blood sugar is medically called hypoglycemia. 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 Excessive thirst is called polydipsia. 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 The surgical removal of the female gonads is called oophorectomy. Now, there's where you need to remember that gonads relate to your ovaries and testicles. So female gonads would be the ovaries. OOPHORECTOMY. The blood sugar that is taken after a high carbohydrate meal is referred to postprandial blood sugar. Postprandial blood sugar. Postprandial, POSTPRANDIAL, then blood, BLOOD, and sugar, SUGAR. An old test that's used to measure the gross energy exchange when the body is in a state of rest is called, BMR is the abbreviation. Basal metabolic rate. Basal metabolic rate. Basal, BASAL, metabolic, METABOLIC, rate, RATE. A disorder that results from excess production of the growth hormone by the pituitary gland in an adult is called no. Acromegaly. Acromegaly. When we speak of growth hormone, we're speaking of the fact that they're going to be very tall, excessively tall. Acromegaly. The enlargement of the thyroid gland is called a goiter. A goiter. And I misled you there. It's just goiter. I was saying a and then goiter. Goiter. Fasting blood sugar, when taken, where the individual is given a measured amount of glucose to drink, then the blood is tested at specific intervals for that glucose, and sometimes for insulin, is called a glucose tolerance. That is correct. Glucose tolerance. And remember I told you the word test might also be put on after that. Glucose, Glucose, and then tolerance, Tolerance. Excessive production of the parathyroid hormone is called, excessive production would be hyperparathyroidism, right? Hyperparathyroidism. 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 Inflammation of the thyroid gland would be thyroiditis. 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 The deficiency of glucose in the blood plasma is called hypoglycemia, right? Hypoglycemia. Keeping in mind that deficiency means a low amount of. Hypoglycemia. Hypoglycemia.
That's deficiency of the blood sugar level?
It's called glucose, which glucose is blood sugar. The surgical removal of the thymus would be called thymectomy. 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 Eating abnormally large amounts of food would be called polyphagia. 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 The surgical removal of the adrenal gland would be called adrenalectomy. 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 Total or partial removal of the parathyroid glands would be called parathyroidectomy. 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 A tumor that originated in the epithelial tissues of the thymus would be called a thymoma. 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 An abnormal increase of cells, each of which retains its normal size and shape, would be medically called increase would be hyperplasia, right, hyperplasia, which is not necessarily descriptive of cells. We're just talking about excessive growth here. probably, to be more descriptive, it would have to be hypercytoplasia,
That's what I'm saying.
but it's just hyperplasia. Hyperplasia. The surgical removal of the male gonads, orchiectomy. ORCHIECTOMY. The total or partial removal of the thyroid would be thyroidectomy. 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 An abnormal amount of uric acid present in the blood. Hyperuricemia, right, hyperuricemia. Hyperuricemia, which is actually hyper and then uric and then emia. HYPERURICEMIA. Excessive acidity of the body fluids due to an accumulation of acids is called acidosis. 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 A procedure that is used to measure the extent of eyeball protrusion is called exophthalmometry. Exophthalmometry. Because remember, it's eyeball protrusion, so outside, right. Exophthalmometry. EXOPHTHALMOMETRY. The inability to oxidize and utilize carbohydrates because of a lack of insulin secretion is called, think of insulin, deal with diabetics. Right, diabetes mellitus. Diabetes mellitus. Diabetes, DIABETES, mellitus, MELLITUS. A disorder that results from the deficiency of all anterior pituitary hormones is all, what's the word part for all? Pan, deficiency, pituitarism. Panhypopituitarism. 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 This measures hormone levels in plasma by using radioactively labeled molecules. No? Okay, we're measuring, we're testing with radioactively, radio immunoassay. We want it to be safe level of radioactive. So we test for radioimmunoassay. This word is why I had you to add immuno and assay. RADIOIMMUNOASSAY. Okay, we have two eponyms which are opposites of each other. Cushing's disease and Addison's disease. One of them is the hypofunctioning of the adrenal cortex, and that's Addison's disease. Addison's disease.
We're not spelling Cushing's and Addison's again.
We're spelling Addison's this time because I gave you the definition for Addison's, which is the hypofunctioning of the adrenal cortex. I was just pointing out of the next two definitions, we're using those two words. So Addison's is capital ADDISON apostrophe S and then disease. And then hyperfunctioning of the adrenal cortex is Cushing's disease. Cushing's disease. So Addison's is hypofunctioning and Cushing's is hyperfunctioning. Capital CUSHING apostrophe S and then disease. The surgical removal of the pancreas would be called pancreatectomy. 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 The presence of an adult male pattern of hair distribution in women, hirsutism, 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 which is HIRSUTISM. A chalky mass of sodium urate occurring in patients with gout is called tophus. 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 And then the last one, the removal of all or part of the pituitary gland through the sphenoid sinus is meant.
No, it's phenol hiding.
Transphenoidal
Hypothesis. Something.
hypophysectomy. Hypophysectomy. Transphenoidal, which means through the sphenoid. Transphenoidal hypophysectomy. Hypophysectomy. And remember, on that hypophysectomy, you're starting to spell the hypothesis, and then instead of putting the IS on the end, you put ectomy. Transphenoidal, TRANSPHENOIDAL. And then hypophysectomy, HYPOPHYSECTOMY. Okay, those are the spelling words that you're going to have to match to their definition. And those definitions that I just gave to you are pretty much what's in the chapter. So, okay, now we need to work on the spelling words only. These are just the spelling words. And the drugs are in a separate listing, so these are just spelling words. There are not any drugs in this group. Icterus. 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 Tetany. 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 Cortisol. 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 Puberty. 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 Steroid. 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 Calcium. 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 Phosphorus. Phosphorus. PHOS. PHORUS. Jaundice. 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 Electrolytes. 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 Diabetes insipidus. Diabetes insipidus. Diabetes, D-I-A-B-E-T-E-S, insipidus, I-N-S-I-P-I-D-U-S. Ketones, ketones, K-E-T-O-N-E-S. Adrenal virilism, adrenal virilism. Adrenal, A-D-R-E-N-A-L, virilism, V-I-R-I-L-I-S-M. Aldosterone, aldosterone. A-L-D-O-S-T-E-R-O-N-E. Alkalosis, alkalosis. Alkalosis, A-L-K-A-L-O-S-I-S. Prolactin, prolactin. P-R-O-L-A-C-T-I-N. Osmolarity, osmolarity. O-S-M-O-L-A-R-I-T-Y. Pressor effect, pressor effect. Pressor effect, P-R-E-S-S-O-R, effect, E-F-F-E-C-T. Pheochromocytoma, pheochromocytoma. Pheochromocytoma. P-H-E-O-C-H-R-O-M-O-C-Y-T-O-M-A. A lot of O's in that. Glycosylated hemoglobin. Glycosylated hemoglobin. Silated. Glycosylated hemoglobin. Glycosylated, and then hemoglobin, Hemoglobin.
Just look like glycosylated.
Glycosylated. Catecholamines or catecholamines. Catecholamines. C-A-T-E-C-H-O-L-A-M-I-N-E-S. Estridiol. I'm really tripping over this morning, or this afternoon. Estridiol. That one's hard to say, though. Estridiol. E-S-T-R-A-D-I-O-L. Okay, and I believe that's all of that group. We need to remember about the abbreviations. The ones that are on your study sheet are the only ones that you need to know. There's more in the book, but those are the ones you need to know. And you have like FBS for fasting blood sugar, and you have the RAIU, which is one of your spelling words, radioactive iodine uptake. There's a couple of them that you perhaps are going to have to work on a little bit. Pardon me? Right. Okay, if we have time, we might go through those. There's the little short section of theory. We have some time. Let's go through those. What's located behind the stomach?
Pancreas.
Pancreas. The two small glands that are located above each kidney are the adrenals. The adrenals manufacture hormones called? Adrenals are steroids. Another name for the pituitary gland is the hypophysis. Sex glands in the males and females are called gonads. Any organ that produces a secretion is called a gland. You need to be able to list the glands that make up the endocrine system, remember, and the best way is probably to remember this picture. Don't forget. You can go back to it, and that way you won't forget any of them. But very quickly, we have the thyroid, parathyroid, pituitary, adrenals, pancreas, testes or ovaries, and the pineal gland. The thyroid gland must have an adequate supply of what? Iodine. The pineal gland secretes a hormone called melatonin. The hormone that's produced by the male sex glands is called testosterone. The science concerned with the function of glands that secrete chemical endocrinology. The gland that is also called the master gland is called the pituitary. The largest endocrine gland is the thyroid. Physicians who are trained to diagnose endocrinologists. The hormones that produced by the female sex glands just a minute, to prepare the uterus for pregnancy, progesterone. Don't get too carried away. The female hormone is estrogen. Okay. The gland that lies above the roof of the third ventricle of the brain, pineal gland. The pancreas manufactures a hormone called, and these glands produce a hormone that regulates the amount of calcium and phosphorus, parathyroid glands. Okay? So those are those are the theory questions. And okay, for the abbreviations, I have them down yet. On Chapter 17, you were supposed to know what TSH means. Thyroid stimulating hormone. If you see RAIU, that stands for radioactive iodine uptake, and remember that's one of your spelling words. LH, luteinizing hormone. GH is a growth hormone. GTT is glucose tolerance test. And of course, remember you have glucose tolerance as a spelling word. FBS is fasting blood sugar. FSH, right, follicle stimulating hormone. And follicle stimulating is hyphenated because you're putting those two together to modify hormone. PTH, right, parathyroid hormone. T4 is thyroxine, and T3 is triiodothyronine. Now, what you want to think about what tri means. Three. And that'll help you keep those two straight, because that tri, T-R-I, is the three part, and then the iodo is for iodine. Okay. And then there's one more, ADH. Antidiuretic hormone. Okay, so those are the abbreviations that you need to remember. Okay, study hard.